Plenty of young men in the world these days are apparently frustrated because they can't meet someone. They can't find a girlfriend, they can't get in a relationship, can't find anybody who's interested in being with them. And I have to think to myself that maybe some of these young men should look inside themselves a little bit because you will find the answer there. But I'll help you by giving you some tips because this has not been that much of a problem for me. But mostly I did think about it when I was a young man, and I thought about what can I do that would make me more appealing to the women I might be interested in at some point down the road in my life. And really, it starts off with certain aspects of things that you do and your behavior that maybe makes you not a very saleable product, right? You're not you're not able to market your product because the product you've got isn't great. Some things really turn women off and turn off people generally. And one of them is just being negative all the time or blaming other people for everything in your life. You are the captain of your own ship. You're the one who, is going to guide yourself through your life and make those decisions to get you where you end up going to. And maybe you only rise to the level of your own incompetency, but you're the one responsible. And so if you're not happy with your own situation, you've got to think about how you can improve it. And just complaining all the time is not going to get you there. Now, after you've, maybe adjusted your attitude and thought about that a little bit, think about things that you can do that can make yourself appealing. If you're sitting at home and playing video games, what skills do you have? Can you cook? Do you know how to cook? Are you a reasonable chef? Can you make a nice meal for somebody? Can you take care of things around the house? Can you deal with those things that need to be done, taken care of? Can you do the laundry? Do you clean? Can you take care of the car? Are you handy? Do you have some use or purpose? Okay, I could tell you somebody who can get things done is always more attractive than somebody who can't. If you're going to end up dating somebody who's a ball and chain, who adds nothing to the relationship, they're not going to be interested in that. It's of no value to you at all. Chauvinism, both sexism and racism, are a real turnoff for most people for good reasons, right? Racism is fundamentally illogical because every person is a different person, so it's just illogical. And chauvinism of any sort, like having some feeling or sense that you're superior as a result of your gender, for example, is fundamentally contrary to the concept of being a human on the planet. We're all just individuals who are out there, trying to survive and do our thing, and one must recognize that everybody else has the same right and role on this planet to be able to do that. And if you are, one of these people who tends to think racist thoughts and express racist things, and if you are one of those people who wants to justify your role as being different on the basis of the fact that you're a man, for example, what are you demonstrating? You're just demonstrating that you don't have empathy, that you're incapable of empathizing with other people, putting yourself in the shoes of other people, being able to understand other people. Well, if you don't have that understanding, then how are you going to function in a relationship with somebody if you can't empathize with them or other people, just generally people in the society? So you might want to think about that. Now, how can you do that? How can you improve yourself in this way? Well, one of the things that's very useful and that we don't see people doing these days so much is reading novels. If you read novels, you get to place yourself in the position of somebody else. You get an in-depth understanding of somebody else's role and somebody else's position in the world, and it forces you to be able to empathize. Study history. You can study history, and you might discover some of the unfortunate and difficult things that humans have gone through over the course of history and be able to understand a little bit better the roles and situations of others. Those are the ways to confront it. You can also think about it. But really, when it comes down to it, if you are in a position where you cannot meet somebody, it's really up to you to make that change. And if you're at home, if you're not out there in the world, you are not going to meet anybody. You're also not going to expand your world. You're not going to be, again, a saleable product if you have no life experience out in the world, or you're not sociable or social to some extent. There's lots of guys who work in positions where, they are, at their job with a bunch of other men. And there's lots of trash talking often happens in those places. Don't participate in it. But the problem there is that you're isolated, okay? You're isolated in those positions. You have to be out doing other things. You have to force yourself in your free time to get out there and do other things and talk to other people. It may be that you have to start by just, going to the mall and going shopping so that you can make yourself comfortable around people, because you can become quite isolated. But take it beyond that. Like, teach yourself something. Teach yourself how to cook. Take a cooking class if necessary. You can think about the ways to improve yourself, but that is one of the ways. If you can't cook a meal for a woman, who is going to want to be with you? I mean, yes, traditionally there's been lots of women who were happy to take over that whole duty of cooking, but most women aren't interested in that these days. Look at the discussion on the internet. The cool thing is to not have a boyfriend. Why? Because a boyfriend these days is holding you back, because they're not adding value to your life. Well, think about things that you can do to add value to somebody else's life, and you find yourself much more likely to be able to meet somebody who will be interested in you. It's not about lifting weights and being pumped up and jacked. Most women are not interested in that, and they don't want to hang around the gym. It's not about being tough or having a big truck. Most women are, beyond that level of thinking. I can just tell you, like, the women that you probably are going to be interested in are usually more sophisticated than that. These are not things that will gain you a partner or have make it a situation where the women you're engaged with will be interested in being in a relationship with you. But if you've got something to offer, then maybe they will. And if you're not, stuck in with your own racism and chauvinism holding you back, then maybe you will. You look at this huge number of women in the U.S. who want to leave the U.S. right now, and you can understand why they want to leave the U.S. right now, especially when the society is degrading women's rights left, right, and center. And if you're one of those men who is supporting that and has supported that, well, maybe there's your problem. Maybe there's your problem. Maybe you should look into yourself, okay, and find some solutions for it. I'm frustrated when I see these things, when I see these expressions, because, okay, I get it. I was a single guy too. There was times in my life I was a single guy and there was no women interested in me. But I sat down and thought about, okay, maybe I should make some changes. And then it was, there was more women interested in me, and it's not been an issue for me, obviously, later on in life. But that's an interesting thing. Like, when you're 22 years old, your dating pool is women who are maybe 24 and down to 20. But when you get to 30 years old, if you've made yourself an interesting guy, there may be women who are as young as 22 and as old as 35 who would be interested in being with you if you're somebody who would be interesting to be with. So make yourself interesting, make yourself skilled, make yourself a decent person, make yourself empathetic, and make yourself somebody who is reasonably somebody that another person would want to be with. That's what you need to do.